Walls of glass rising in front of mountains. A view from the hills. One view. There are many. Many hills and many views in a city like Hong Kong. Observing as others rush to work. Lovers Rock, Hong Kong. Blue House, once used as a martial arts school. A fishing village that grew, a meeting point for the world and its cultures. At street level, Hong Kong moves differently. Here the tramways continue their slow, deliberate path, unchanged in spirit, if not in time. They might not be the fastest way through the city, but they may be the most revealing. Trams remind us that movement does not always require haste, only direction. In 1996, the great Clive James came to Hong Kong to send a postcard. It aired August 27th on ITV. It was the 14th episode and the 7th series. He called the series his most personal work. A stone marks where one jurisdiction ended and another began. When Clive visited Hong Kong, it was still under British rule. Many have claimed Hong Kong. For this moment, it's mine, however briefly, however impossibly. Buses remind me of London. Underneath, the MTR tells me to mind the gap. Nicknamed Ding Ding, operating since 1904, Hong Kong has the world's largest double-decker tram fleet, with over 160 trams. Helipads perch atop buildings, hospitals, and private clubs, tiny islands in the sky, where the urgent and the everyday meet. There are about 170 helipads in the city. Maybe it is the city in motion that compels me to film its transport. From hill to street, tram to ferry, sky to harbor, the city moves in layers, each one alive, each one telling its own story. In July 1997, this square witnessed the ceremonies marking Hong Kong's handover and the founding of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, a city suspended between past and present, between history and possibility. The golden petals of the bauhinia gleam, a symbol of continuity, of change, and of the city's complex identity. Between Hong Kong Island and Kowloon, the harbour is alive with motion. Ferries, small boats, and cargo vessels carve paths across the water. The water is both a barrier and a bridge, a space where the city's energy slows just enough to be seen. Victoria Harbour is crossed daily by a network of ferries connecting Hong Kong Island with Kowloon. Among them, the Star Ferry has carried commuters and visitors for over a century, linking neighborhoods and keeping the city moving across its waters. Together, the ferries and the skyline illustrate Hong Kong's unique character, a city shaped by water and land, by constant movement, and by the people who navigate both every day. The ferries glide steadily, threading between the skyscrapers and cargo vessels, the skyline looming on both sides. The pace is measured, but the scale is immense. More than 7 million people live here. The sound of the engine reminds me of Venice, the Vaporetti and Grand Canal. But this time, I'm not in Venice. I am here, in a city I've only known through films, travel documentaries, books, and postcards sent by others. Over 200,000 tourists can visit Hong Kong daily during peak season. In 2025, between January and November, over 45 million people visited the city, 75% of them from mainland China. The Kowloon Clock Tower stands as a solitary sentinel by the harbour. Once part of the old Kowloon station, it has outlasted the trains and the tracks, a reminder of the city's colonial past. Now the Coca-Cola bottles take their place, line up on the red carpet near a statue celebrating the Hong Kong Film Awards. How many have fallen in love with the city thanks to Hollywood and Love is a Many-Splendored Thing, or the blood sports of Van Damme, and the many local films? Is there a place on the planet where the films of the Shaw brothers did not reach an audience, today reissued as 4K copies? Something far away can be constantly close thanks to movies and books. Nearby, Bruce Lee stands as people gather to mimic his stance, honoring his presence in both playful and reverent ways. Entertainment is followed by cargo, ensuring that travelers can find abroad what they have at home, down to British semi-skimmed milk in Hong Kong. London is 5,995 miles away, but I feel its closeness. I buy socks from Marks & Spencer here, products and brands that make us feel at home. Travelers are welcomed into a world of their own choices, shopping malls and stores where familiarity meets locality, and where certain products are branded as local, available only here, yet accessible online worldwide. A one-way airport transfer in a Rolls-Royce is priced at 2,500 Hong Kong dollars. Once this was the Marine Police headquarters, built in 1884 and serving until 1996. From here, officers watched the sea, signals were sent, time itself was measured and dropped from a tower, so ships drifting in the bay could set their course by it. During the Japanese occupation, the Japanese Navy used a compound. Now the past lingers in stone and symmetry. The old barracks and stables have been carefully restored, their surfaces polished. Where uniforms once moved with purpose, visitors now wander. Luxury has taken residence here. Behind the colonial facade, designer stores and fine dining spaces unfold. History reassembled and curated, less a memory than an atmosphere. Here the traveler does not confront the past, but walks through it comfortably. Star Voyager, previously known as Dawn Princess and Pacific Explorer, built by Fincantieri at their yard in Monfalcone, Italy, in 1997. Each year, cruise ships come in steady numbers, nearly 200 calls, gliding into the city like floating districts, carrying with them a temporary population of travelers. They dock, they open, they release their passengers into the streets, into the malls. For a moment, the city expands. Then, just as quietly, they depart again, pulling away from the terminal, leaving behind only a trace of movement in the harbor and the sense of a world that is always arriving and always leaving. I think again about the postcard Clive James sent years ago. Clive is gone. So is Alistair Cooke, after over 2,900 episodes of Letter from America. 58 years or so. Weekly 15 minutes on BBC4. The longest running speech radio program hosted by one individual. Clive once wrote a poem about visiting his father's grave. His father, Albert, is buried at the Saiwan War Cemetery in Hong Kong. Clive described his father's death as the defining event of his life. He was 6 when his father was on his way home. Clive could be described as a man who watched the world closely and described it so precisely that it often became impossible to see it the same way again. I go back from Kowloon to Hong Kong Island. I marvel at the trams again, these moving terraces of history, slow, steady, unhurried, amid the city's speed. In the midst of man-made mountains, nature tries to find a place to land. Trees silent witnesses of history. In 1941, John Osborne of the Winnipeg Grenadiers smothered a Japanese grenade with his body, sacrificing himself to save his men. The Peak tram departing from Garden Road was the first in Asia. Operated since 1888. The line used a static steam engine to power the haulage cable. Today the tram is owned by the owner of the Peninsula Hotel. Soon I get a view of the view I have seen and received in postcards. The place where every visitor must go and stand. From its first opening until 1926, the tram was divided into 3 classes. First class was for British colonial officials and residents of Victoria Peak. Second class, British military and Hong Kong police force personnel. Third class, other people and animals. By the time of the handover in 1997, the system carried some 2 million passengers annually. Today, more than 4 million. Today, 17,000 daily, mainly tourists. One night during my first walks in San Francisco, I realized late in the evening that all the movies I had seen had given me a kind of subconscious map. I was somewhere I had already visited many times before. There was a sense of returning, a strange confidence in my steps, a familiarity in what I saw. Places like San Francisco and Hong Kong have been so thoroughly captured in films that they live with us even before we arrive there. When you finally do, it can feel less a discovery and more like recognition. Your mind has stitched together scenes, camera angles, atmosphere, and stories. Your own personal world with your cities. Mind and memory borrowing from fiction. Emotional pre-mapping. A sense of return. Another day, another start. I head to the Broadway Cinematheque, designed by Gary Chang. Inside, there's a bookshop named after Kubrick. Cities, with their constant movement, offer a kind of hideout from time. Movement takes over from passing. Memories remain present as old buildings stand beside new ones. The staircases in buildings, like the blood veins in the human body. Transport and circulation. Past and present passing quietly in opposite directions, as the ferries and boats let the water remember what the city forgets. And all the time, Bruce keeps his guard up. Tonight, somewhere, someone is watching William Holden fall in love once again with Jennifer Jones. The following night, Holden can return in the world of Susie Wong to meet Nancy Kwan. Hollywood's ideas of the Orient. Nighttime in big cities does not tell you to go to sleep. It invites you to explore more. the night turns into morning. Where once was Kai Tak Airport, now buildings and cruise terminals tell the next stories of travel. What would Clive James say of Hong Kong today? What would Alistair Cooke report from the United States? There is no need to try to guess. We can find our way back to their work, read and listen again. Memories, unreliable or not, from another time. Perhaps, as a kid, the first time I saw the words Hong Kong, it was on a toy car. Many other products were made in Hong Kong. What is this place, and where is this place, where so many things are made? I must have thought, immediately wanting to go and visit. With 26 stories, the Mandarin Oriental was once the tallest building in Hong Kong. It was also the first hotel here to have direct dial phones. And it was the first in Asia to include a bath in every guest room. From here, the author-filmmaker Jørn Donner witnessed the 1997 handover. He had made his reservation years, decades before. I head to the hills again. My own little escape. This time I plan to walk further, to wander deeper along the hiking trails. But first, as always, I pause and marvel the skyline. My thoughts drift to Gibraltar. Something familiar, not just the British past. Here I probably will not see any monkeys. They are farther away in Kam Shan, what locals simply call Monkey Hill. But on a day like this, facts feel secondary. Perhaps we can also pretend to avoid history. Climbing the hill in the warmth of the sun, it's easy to imagine a familiar soundtrack. Voices from another time, carried quietly on the air. The Four Aces, Al Alperts, Andy Williams, Barry Manilow, Engelbert Humperdinck, each one singing the theme from the film, Just for You. I know that the tree where once on a high and windy hill two lovers met was actually filmed near 20th Century Fox's ranch in Malibu, but still I think I could come across it. The view here does not extend endlessly to the horizon in the way Los Angeles does from the hills of Beverly, but it does not need to. Each offers something of its own. Whether for a visitor or local, intruder or defender. Looking down from the hills, the world belongs to you, whether anyone else accepts it. In 2025, the Peak Tram and the Peak Tower presented Hong Kong's first ever Disney Mickey Keep It Real campaign. The same year, Hong Kong Disneyland welcomed 7.5 million visitors. I spent a day with Mickey and friends at the resort. In the 1955 film Soldier of Fortune with Clark Gable, the opening and closing credit scenes of the film featuring Gable looking out at the harbor skyline were staged on the Peak Tram. Susan Hayward stayed in Hollywood and her scenes were filmed on the studio backlot. A double was used in Hong Kong with her back to the camera. Hong Kong framed as spectacle and frontier, the magic of cinema. Others now head to claim the hills. I return to the asphalt jungle below, where my hike to the hills has gone unnoticed. I take my place again among the many, and yet surely the city knows where I have been. Clive's postcard carries us into another time, making the Hong Kong of the 90s feel alive once more. And to my joy, another conversation with Clive James still awaits. In October 2026, Picador is set to publish his last poems. The collection is to be called The Light as It Grows Dark. Sometimes the past returns unexpectedly. Even some of Alistair Cooke's letters, those once thought lost, continue to resurface, preserved on old cassette recordings by listeners who cherished their moments with him. The ferries and boats keep departing and arriving. Macau is nearby. Beijing is 2,000 kilometers away. Journey time by high-speed train to Beijing is 8.5 to 10 hours. I conclude my letter with thoughts of returning. Images and sounds linger with me as I leave for the next destination. A typhoon warning has been issued on the day of departure. Though for now, the night remains calm. And for one brief moment, Hong Kong still belongs to me.